Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, an open book when it comes to all things sex, Layla, a sex explorer, kinkster, podcaster, and yoga addict who is here to talk not only about her podcast, the Curious Girl Diaries, and all that went into making her sex life a priority, but also a crush that awoke her sexually in new ways. Layla, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. You're probably our most sexiest type of guest we've ever had.
Oh, ooh la la.
We had
how exciting.
We had the Sextentialist on. Maybe you're familiar with her podcast.
SM, right?
Yeah, she was on. It's about to get kinky.
Yes. Well, she's got a lot of great stories too, but I've sort of really been at it, very focused at it anyway for the past 6 years. So
she came through with her Star Wars crush.
Oh, her Star Wars crush. Oh, okay. I'll have to listen to that episode. I love it. That's awesome.
Deep on some Luke Skywalker.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got a crush.
That's right.
We're going to take this back a bit before we talk about your crush, because your journey seemed to begin some time ago. And it was after you noticed that it had been about 3.5 years since you'd had sex. Did it just dawn on you one day, or had the lack of sex kind of been like in your mind and you thought, I need to fix this?
No, it was crazy. It was literally just like this light bulb moment, like the sky is parted and, God reached his hand down and was like, Layla, you can no longer go on like this. So I literally just had this aha moment. I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I wasting the pretty? I need to get out there. I need to, I've been keeping this on lockdown. I don't even know why. It's ridiculous. So I very quickly got focused, got my ass in gear, and within 10 days of having my little revelation, I, boom, broke that dry spell.
Speaking of, your sexual awakening crush, not the one to bring you out of the dry spell. It was another man you refer to as Titanic. Did you funnel through others, or was Titanic like first one you saw and you're like, let's go?
Titanic was absolutely the most perfect guy to break the dry spell. There were quite a few after him, but we met and I told him what had happened. I told him what my intention was. I told him that I'd created this sex bucket list and that I was going to go on this adventure and knock things off. That, not only am I going to break this dry spell, but I'm going to make sure this never happens again. And I'm going to turn this next year into a very, sex focused year for myself. And he was very happy to be part of that.
Well, that's good. He was really receptive and you were like so honest about it. I don't think I could have done that. Been like, hey, it's been 3.5 years.
Well, it was great that he knew, because I'm telling you, he really did a fantastic job of just, setting the stage, preparing the room. He had candles, he had music, I think there was some wine involved. It was, it was like he made it a momentous occasion. So, and we dated for a while too. It was quite fun.
It sounds like if there was a comment card, he would get high marks and you would recommend.
Absolutely.
Usually when we talk about a sexual awakening crush, guests have spoken about crushes that maybe happened like during puberty or childhood. So I did want to touch on that with you. Do you remember the first maybe fictional character or celebrity that made you feel a certain type of way?
Okay, this is really, really odd. I can't believe I'm going to admit this. When I was younger, I caught some old episodes of, I don't know what, it was a weird time of the day, and I'd get home from school and I think it was on, and I would catch, these old episodes of Gilligan's Island.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of different ways this could go.
Oh my gosh. And I think it was more just, I was drawn to the sexuality of Ginger, the movie star, and how she was so flirty with Gilligan. I don't know if that's a crush. Maybe it's more like that's the first time I noticed some sort of something of a sexual nature, that was, because it was very just subtle. And, but I used to think, and so Ginger thought that, Gilligan was cute. And I guess I thought Gilligan was cute too.
I mean, he was like adorable in a way. I thought like it could have got even weirder. It could have been the Howls.
Oh no.
Skipper. Like, that was where my mind went.
What was that guy's name? Thurston Howell the Third.
Yeah. Yep. And like
Lovey.
I was like Lovey. I don't know if she had an actual name, but Lovey was the wife.
Yeah, and Lovey. Oh, funny. Yeah. Now you're taking me literally. Like this is just. I'm fuzzy on all the details, but yeah, I just for some reason that sticks out in my mind.
And they were like on the island, and it's like, what else were they gonna do?
It was tropical. Yeah. It was just like, what else are you gonna do? So, who would have been kind of, now that I think back, who was actually more handsome wasn't it the professor?
Oh, he was very handsome.
Yeah, he was handsome. So why was I all about Gilligan? I don't know. Maybe this just kind of tells you like, I kind of like the odd, quirky guys.
I could see like Gilligan being like a Pete Davidson of today, maybe. If he was still around. Like he would totally be that guy in Hollywood. Like Machine Gun Kelly, this lanky guy. He'd date probably Courtney or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Well, thank you for modernizing it.
For those listening who maybe, because kids today, they don't know the classic TV anymore. It's like Fresh Prince is classic TV to them. So
right.
So modernize it for them.
There we go.
Let's get to the man of the hour. We're just going to call him Cowboy N. That's what we refer to him as. You two met on a hookup site. Was that kind of the site you frequented most?
Yes.
So we're like, how many people would you say before Cowboy N came into the picture?
Let me think about this. See, because I was really, really prolific with it in the beginning, and they were all kind of around the same time. So where was Cowboy N in that lineup? Okay, well, Titanic. I think I had already met BE, and I'm trying to see, and just all their nicknames. Yeah, I know I've got to maintain their anonymity too, so I need to remember all the nicknames. There was probably like. Oh, and then there was YW. Yeah. So there was probably like 3 or 4 other guys before Cowboy N.
I like that you give them nicknames. I know it's for anonymity, but also like in high school, me and my best friends or my little group of friends, we would nickname everybody because when we talked, we're like, we don't want anyone to know what we're talking about. I think we did it. Yeah, we did it back in middle school. It dates back a long time.
Me too. It's a tradition for me. Everybody gets a nickname. If you're important, you get a nickname.
I think you mentioned that Cowboy N was younger than you. Was that part of the initial appeal?
No, I did not want to go out with him because of that.
Really? Why so?
There was no appeal for me. So there was another guy before Cowboy N, and what was his nickname? I forget. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, TJ. TJ was younger, and I just kept saying, I had a lot of younger guys asking me out, and I was like, no, ew, no. I just didn't think that they would be good in bed, to be honest with you. And so I kept saying no. And then TJ was really persistent. So I finally said, okay, fine. And I went out with him, and boy, he really changed my mind. I had a lot of fun with him. He was very good in bed. And I just thought, okay, maybe I have been unfair. So if it wasn't for meeting TJ first, Cowboy N would have never gotten his foot in the door.
Well, when he did get that foot in the door, you said he sexually awoke you because he got you to explore BDSM and was your first dominant. So had you never gone down that route before?
No, I had never gone down that route, and that was on my bucket list. So I wanted to explore BDSM and, be with somebody that knew what they were doing, have them sort of teach me the ropes, get me familiar with it. I mean, this was just a whole new world for me. And I didn't know much about it, but I knew that I knew enough to know that, if I really wanted to experience it in its true form, that I needed to find somebody that had some experience and that was used to being, dominant, a dominant to a submissive. So when I met Cowboy N, he said, oh yeah, I can definitely do that. He also knocked some other things off my bucket list too. I don't know how racy your show is, but
say whatever you want.
One of the things I wanted to learn how to do was squirt, and he did that, the first time. So This guy knew what he was doing, and he was younger too. And it just blew me away. I'm like, where are these younger guys learning this stuff? It's crazy.
Because those youngins got that newfangled internet.
That's right. They got that crazy new thing called the internet.
So when I think of BDSM, I think anybody not familiar with it, when we just like kind of know generally, we think of like dungeons and we have to go somewhere. So what advice do you have for people who haven't tried it, who have that like picture in their mind, to kind of like incorporate it into like their everyday sex life, maybe in the bedroom with their like partner, significant other?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say that there's, the memes and stuff you see and all that dungeons and, yes, sir. And those are just that. It's, BDSM is huge. It covers a vast area of things, but, simply put, it's really just about kind of the dominant and the submissive doing things that they both agree on, and it's a power exchange. So the misconception is that somebody's in control and the other person's not. Someone's got leverage over the other person doesn't. There's always a balanced exchange going on. So nobody's, not in control somewhere, somehow. And all of these things are mutually agreed on. And then underneath that, kind of going on that philosophy, when you boil it down, then you can break it down to the kinks, the little things you want to try, whether it's spanking, handcuffs, blindfolds, and then it can go all the way to the extreme of, piercings and brandings. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's not just the crazy, weird stuff, dungeons, whippings, that kind of stuff. It just covers a huge amount of things. So, but again, if you want to learn about it, someone should really find some groups, Google online, find some groups that, communities, some BDSM communities where they're really teaching. There's a lot of good teachers out there and a lot of good information out there. And, when you hook up with the right information sources, you'll very quickly realize what it's not about. And it's usually those things that you originally thought you saw, memes, little graphics, things like that. The things that were kind of seem so off-putting. You're like, why would people want to do this? Because it's really not just, it's not just the propaganda stuff that you're seeing.
So it sounds like it's more of a spectrum and there's levels to it.
Huge spectrum. Huge. Yeah.
All right. So I think most people think of just like a guy in leather with like a leather face mask with a whip. And that's all we know. Because of Hollywood.
And a ball gag.
Yeah.
And, it's just, there's just a lot more to it.
And you said this crush with Cowboy lasted some time. It was like 3.5 years. Were you hooking up during that whole time? Did you start dating? What happened?
Yeah, no, we were dating for that amount of time. And and he was my dominant, and we had a lot of fun, saw each other a lot, traveled together a lot. It was a really fun time.
When you start up on just like a hookup site, how for you does it evolve into an actual relationship? Does it still stay very sex-based, or, when did the feelings start?
Yes. Are you talking about with Cowboy N specifically?
Yeah.
Okay. So that whole thing was strange. In the beginning, honestly, I don't even know, how much he and I even liked each other that much, but we had this great sexual chemistry. So we were definitely, our bodies were fully charged for each other. But I never really took him seriously in the beginning because I'm like, he's younger. And for me, I just had this mental block up, thinking that for some reason, I don't know why, I couldn't take him seriously because he was younger, and everything, I sort of wrote him off a little bit, discounted him. And he probably just thought I was, this snobby chick from a certain part of town, that wouldn't be that interested, but we, hooked up and had great sex. So we were both just going to keep doing it. And then over time, I just started to realize like, oh, you know what? Even though we bug each other, like we still wanted to be around each other, like something was going on. Like I said, I don't really know that either one of us really knew what was happening, although it was happening. And then we just started, going, he would be working in different places, and I got to see him. We'd be spending time together, and it just kind of evolved, and before it was this just kind of poking fun, hot, sexy friendship, with great sex. And then it started to get more emotional. And I think about our Wyoming trip was when, well, he thinks that's when he's totally wrong. He thinks that's when he thinks I was falling in love with him because he was falling in love with me too, right, in Wyoming. But it's not true. I still didn't take him that seriously in Wyoming, but not shortly. It was Kansas. It was Kansas City. By the time we got to Kansas, something started to change for me. And I was like, when I got on the plane to leave, I'm like, oh, like I felt that, like, oh, I think I'm going to miss him, like, oh, when is the next time how long is it going to be? It's going to be 4 more weeks till I can see him again. I was like, oh, so I started to have that kind of reaction.
And when the crush started to fizzle, I'm assuming it's because you guys parted ways. Did you initially miss him?
It did not fizzle.
Oh,
it hasn't fizzled.
Okay.
No.
So it's still going.
Well, it is not still going, but because when we started it, I had said, when we started to get serious about this and we're realizing, okay, we're totally into each other. I said, look, there's an age difference. And so for me, this has a shelf life, and we can, if you want to just run the wheels off this thing and, Thelma and Louise it over the cliff, then let's go. But there will be, there's going to be an end point. And, so he said, sure, let's do it. And I said, all right, let's do it. I'm in, so we did, we went, I feel like it went as far as it could. And then, I just felt like, okay, it's probably time, but I still love him. He still loves me. And, but we don't talk that much anymore.
Well, it's good that you still care for each other. It wasn't just the amazing sex and the BDSM and learning to squirt and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it was a lot of good stuff. Yeah. I kind of looked at it this way. I feel like, well, some people in your life are chapters. They're not the whole book. They're going to be chapters. They're important chapters, important people in your life. And he changed me completely with just introducing me to BDSM. And I've never had that deep of a connection and love for someone that I was also sexual with, and experiencing it all at the same time. Oh my gosh. Like, whoa. Yeah. It's mind blowing. So I'm forever grateful for that. And, I just hope to someday capture lightning in a bottle again with maybe someone that I feel is a little more age appropriate.
I was going to ask, you're the sexplorer, and people like to think, people that enjoy sex aren't the type to settle down, but you've had plenty of relationships. So do you think one day there's going to be one that's just like monogamy all the way till the end?
You know what? I look at that differently now. And the way it's changed for me is, before I definitely was always into monogamy and I was a monogamous person. But for me, monogamy meant, that you weren't being unfaithful. It just meant, like, if you were not monogamous, you were doing something wrong. And through my, all this sexual exploration and being in open relationships with different people and experiencing different partners, I feel like you can have a primary partner, and that's really your love interest. And then you can have some sexual experiences with other people too. And you care about them, but they're not your primary partner. And that's okay. And as long as there's open, honest communication between you and everybody, nobody's in the dark and nobody's being deceived, then that's fine. Now, if, let's say I met somebody and they said, hey, I don't want you to have other partners or experience anybody else, and they were my primary partner, I'm not saying I'm adverse to that either. I may say that's fine. I'm not really. The interesting thing is, I used to be tied to monogamy because that's the way I grew up, and I didn't really have a reason to think of it otherwise. Now that I know what I know, I'm just more open to whatever, to be honest. I'm not really on one side of the fence or the other anymore, which is, I find quite interesting. So if somebody wants monogamy, yeah, I'm fine with it. If someone says, hey, let's be open, or you can be open and explore. I have one partner that says he's not exploring, but he loves that I explore. There's so many just different ways to go about it. So I just find whatever works for you and the person or people involved. And as long as everybody's open and upfront, then go for it.
Well, you're leaving the door open for yourself. And I did want to ask about that because we usually end the crush portion with our imaginations. And I wanted to know, if you and Cowboy N were to give it another chance, how do you think your lives would be together today?
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, what a crazy question. I think we'd be just crazy in love, just like we were before. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it would be great. It would be great.
More trips to Kansas City, Wyoming.
We were in, we went all over. Honestly, I can't keep track of all the places. We were over, so we were traveling a lot over there where it's nice and tropical. He'd be killing me right now. Like, really? You can't remember that? You can't remember the name of it? Anyway, I'm just drawing a blank. So yeah, no, I mean, we always had a lot of fun. Yeah. It was never lack of fun. There was nothing, it was always great and wonderful and hot and sexy. And yeah, great. A great experience. I mean, I still I'm smiling right now, ear from ear to ear.
Just thinking about all those trips.
Yeah.
Sounded like a great time.
Oh my gosh. We just did so much stuff. He's fun, like we just did all, and we would do stuff,
And I mean, those wondering how I knew more about Titanic and Cowboy N, you actually write these little explanations about the men you've been with on your Curious Girl Diaries site. And I want to know what made you want to keep track of them in this way. And are these just the notable ones that you pinned about?
Yeah. So I know. Good question. I love that you've done so much research. That's really, thank you very much. I'm flattered. Yeah. So the guys section of the website, the curiousgirldiaries.com, that's, those were the guys in the beginning. So those were pretty much year 1, year 2 guys. There were some one-hit wonders in there I didn't put on there. And since then there have been other guys. I stopped updating it because initially, the funny thing is, I just thought I was going to do this for just a year. So it was never my intention for it to go on this long. And it really was just a project, a self project, something for me. And I wanted to document my year, my first year and my bucket list. And then I started podcasting and, and it just, I kept saying every year, I'm going to stop. And people were like, no, don't stop. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll give it another year. Well, I said I would say that for about 3 years. And then finally I'm like, okay, look, I'm in this, people. You got me.
You mentioned the sex bucket list a lot. Have you ever seen the movie The To-Do List starring Aubrey Plaza?
No, I haven't. I'll have to check it out.
It's a I want to say it's I guess it's a teen comedy. She's kind of this straight-laced girl, valedictorian, just graduated, and she has a to-do list of what sexual things to do before she heads off to college in the fall. It's amazing. Check it out.
I will. Okay, it's the to-do list.
Yes, it has Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live. His ex-wife actually wrote it. Aubrey Plaza, Donald Glover. It has so many amazing actors. It's hilarious. It's informative as well.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right, I'm right. I wrote it down.
And was this sex bucket list something you had to sit down and do, or were these things that were on your mind for a while? Did you research sexual things and okay, I'll do that, but maybe not that?
No, I really didn't have any of them on my mind. I just, I sat down and I researched and I just started, watching really, Googling stuff. Actually, it really started when I came across, there's a a blogger, and she's in Europe, and she's probably, I mean, hands down, in my opinion, the best sex blogger ever. And she has a site called Girl on the Net. And that's kind of where I got my inspiration for my sex bucket list, because she writes all these wonderful stories. But also I thought, you know what? I'm going to create this list and I'm going to blog about it to memorialize it. I wanted to find a way to, this was a self-experiment with myself, right? So I wanted to find a way to keep track of it, write it all down, and have it for reference, just to note how I change, what I was always asking myself, who am I going to be at the end of this year? Who am I going to be, after I do all these things? What is this going to am I going to blow the doors wide open on something? Or am I just going to go back to my life as usual, good old vanilla sex, and that'll be that? I'll just close this chapter and done with that. I just didn't know. So I thought, well, I'm going to blog about my experiences. Well, turns out I'm a terrible writer. I hate writing. It was painful. So I only blogged for, part of, I think, the first year. And then I decided, you know what? I've got the gift of gab. I'm going to podcast. That's it. So I decided to start podcasting about it, which caught on. And here I am 6 years later. And I have I just update my sex bucket list and kind of start a new adventure every year.
Well, I have to say, you are not a horrible writer. I was reading these little, bits and pieces on the site, and I was like, okay, does she have erotica experience? Because they were pretty steamy. I thought they were great.
Thank you.
I want to know, did you, you said you're a horrible writer, but reading these blogs, did erotica writing ever come into mind? Maybe I could be an author, because they make a lot of money.
I know. No, I will file that one away and think about it. But no, it's just very hard for me. I would sit down to write, and I feel like, and like I said, I was really looking at, someone like Girl on the Net, who, I highly advise checking out her stuff. She writes so beautifully and so wonderfully. It just felt like when I was writing, it just didn't feel like it didn't come natural. And I would sit, and it would take a long time for me to get out the whole story. And it wasn't a story. I'm writing about what I just experienced. These aren't made up things. I think I did have, there may be one or two fantasies in the blog, but I note them as such. I'm I thought about this and I thought it was really hot and I wanted to share it. But basically I was sharing all of the actual sexual encounters with the guys. I would sit down and write about it, what happened and what I was thinking and feeling and just everything, and it just was hard for me to do. So I thank you. I appreciate that you you're not judging my writing the same way I do. I'm definitely critical of it, but it just was hard for me to do. So I felt like the podcasting was so much better for me.
Which I was going to ask, how did you decide to get into podcasting? But you just answered my question.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to preempt it, but it is this whole story. I mean, that's how it kind of came. That's how it came to be, that I just started podcasting. And again, I thought, oh, this is great, because now I have it recorded auditorily, and I'll have this again, to memorialize what I did. And if I ever want to look back on it as a point of reference, or just, kind of go, well, what was I sounding like in the beginning? And then what was I sounding like at the end? And what were my conclusions? And what did I learn? And anyway, it just caught on, it just kept going and going. And I never expected to be here. I never expected 6 years later, that I'd still be here, and with the podcast doing as well as it is. And yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, with the podcast, have you been able to learn anything new that has helped your sexploration?
I think I just get a lot of, I really feel close to my listeners. I really sit, and when I do an episode, I'm talking to them. I'm really, it's for them. And I feel like it's our exchange, and they will leave me voicemails and messages. And I just feel like I have a really good, kinship, with the people that listen and follow. And the feedback that I get, some people do, like, they'll say, oh, have you tried this? Have you looked at that? Here's a good site. They really give me all this great feedback. And so a lot of my inspiration or new ideas do come from my listeners. So it's really cool, and then I get to go and act it out and do this stuff. And it just gets better and better. But the other thing too, is the more sexual you become and the more in touch with that side of yourself, when you start exploring, you think, okay, I'm just going to go and learn about BDSM. Well, one door will open 10 more. And then, you'll try something, and in the act of doing that, another thing comes to light, like, whoa, I thought I was really going to be all about, whatever, the spanking, but really, this aspect, or something that you didn't expect, you find really turns you on, and then you get to explore that. So it kind of feeds on itself. It's really interesting. So there's never like a lack of new things or, new directions that I want to go in every year. So it's been fun.
And I'd also love if you can give some advice on how someone maybe just starting out in their own sexual exploration, how they can make sex a priority in their own life.
First of all, if you're having a dry spell, you need to stop it right now. Not having sex is not the answer. And you know what? I really encourage people to kind of think about it, I guess, from a common sense standpoint. And that is that everything in your life is constantly changing. Change is like, it's the only thing that, we really can count on. And, you're not the same person you were last year, 3 years ago, 5 years, 10 years, you're always growing and evolving. And I just kind of found it interesting that, especially since we're in the start of a new year, every year people are like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to quit doing this bad habit. I'm going to quit doing that. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, whatever it is. You're always thinking about things to do better for yourself, or get a new job, make more money. It's all self-improvement stuff, but nobody ever really looks at, why don't you make your sex life a priority? It's a huge integral part of who we are. And I've learned more about myself personally, more about things about myself outside of the bedroom by exploring my sexual side, which kind of, you wouldn't think that the two go hand in hand, but they really, really do. So if you think you know yourself really well, but you're not in touch with your sexuality and who you are as a sexual being, I'm telling you that you're leaving a huge part of yourself unexplored and, uncovered. So think of it that way. And then just do little things, every day. And I think especially for women, we'll get caught up in other things, we'll spread ourselves so thin, and we're trying to please everybody and, things like that. But don't forget, you're this sexy, hot woman, and relish it. And, you should take some sexy selfies and, send them to your guy or, somebody you're interested, or just keep them for yourself and be like, look, I was looking good, and it starts with the kind of little things like that, just being mindful and aware. If you got some old yucky lingerie or old yucky, you haven't bought new underwear and panties and all that, get rid of those granny panties. Anything that doesn't make you feel sexy, change it out. Get some new sex toys, and, and just start priming the pump, because if you start feeling sexy, you're going to kind of exude that, and then your light's on, and then men are going to notice, or, or if you're into women, or, same sex, whoever you're interested in, they're going to start picking up on that hot, sexy vibe. So it really kind of starts small like that, and then and then make a bucket list, just like I did.
Yeah, I've never thought of New Year's resolutions revolving around sex. I don't think I've ever heard that for anybody. It is always weight loss or breaking a bad habit. So that's really good advice.
Yeah, but do you ever, it's like, why not? I wonder why not. It's a basic human need, and but then we don't want to talk about it, and we don't want to put any emphasis on it.
I think we're still maybe too buttoned up as a society to because I noticed Target right now in their seasonal section, it is a lot of workout things. But imagine if it was like condoms, lubricants, sex toys, all that.
Sex toys. Right. New Year's resolution, get rid of it. Don't have any sex toys? Get some. got old ones that, you've had since the 80s, get some new ones, I mean, things have evolved, sex toys are, they've come a long way.
Which, speaking of sex toys, we're going to play a quick speed round based on around your favorite topic, that is sex. So
oh my gosh.
Here we go.
Okay.
Favorite position?
Depends on who I'm with.
Best sex toy for a man?
Oh gosh, what are those? A jack-off sleeve.
Worst sex toy for a woman? Or maybe most overrated?
Those old bullets with the remote control, like the wired to a remote control.
If it has a wire, it seems a little.
If it has a wire, anything old school, get rid of it.
Those are the ones you got to toss and then go on Adam and Eve or all those sites get new one.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much great stuff out there. Yeah.
The most overrated place to have sex?
A car.
It is so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable.
And plus, like, they give you tickets and that's expensive.
Right. I mean, it's a car. And then, sometimes you have to be in a certain position to orgasm and you can't do that because you're all, your feet are all, you're on top and they're like, and your knees are pinched or whatever. No, it's not good.
And I know lingerie is so aimed at women, but what do you think is the sexiest piece of clothing that a man can wear?
Oh, I just love those tight, what do you call them? The tight, snuggly boxers, not the loose ones, but the tight
briefs?
ones. But the ones that go right up, kind of like above their knee. They almost look like you know what I'm talking.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just they're like boy shorts. They're boy shorts, but it's their underwear. But I love the way it like snuggles their package and shows off their legs and their cute little butts. Mm-hmm.
And what is something that everyone should have on their sex bucket list?
Finding a different way to orgasm other than your go-to.
Very good one. Everybody take note. And lastly, what can people expect from the Curious Girl Diaries in the coming months? Like, what guests do you have? I saw you had a porn star recently who slept with like so many women.
5,000.
That's crazy. I don't even.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That is a great episode. Actually, I'm doing a 3-part series with him because he is so fascinating. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you need to listen to him. He's got such great, amazing practical advice on this stuff. He hits the nail right on the head. And having had all of that experience, he knows woman's body, and he also understands men's bodies when it comes to performance anxiety. He can help them overcome all that stuff. He just puts it he puts the information in a light that's just easily, it's like you go ding, ding, ding. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's it. Why has nobody ever said this before? So Eric Everhard.
That's a name.
I know. Yeah. So he's going to be, so you can look forward to more of him. Let's see, who else am I having on? I've got a guy coming on who's got a book and a series called Sex, Drugs, and Jesus. I have another returning guest, Valerie Weber, who was she's now getting her doctorate, and she's going to be a sex therapist, and she used to work for Playboy. So she's really interesting. I'm glad to have her back on. Let's see. I have just a bunch of I've got swingers coming on the show. A lot of other sex podcasters. I'm hoping to have a couple return guests from last year that, taught some great courses. There's this one gal, her name is Lee, and she taught the blowjob course, the hand job course.
I love sex podcasters because your guests are always like so amazing because you don't know these things exist.
Exactly. I didn't know that. I mean, this is why it's so fun to be a sex podcaster. I get to have the best conversations with people and meet the most interesting people. So, like Lee, she used to work in a massage parlor and she's given over 2,000 happy endings. So she knows a man's penis really well. So if you want to understand all that, she's got tricks and things that blew me away. I'm like, oh yeah. And so, I mean, just if you want to be a better lover, there's something for everybody if it's in the sex genre, on my podcast. And there's me, of course, I do release twice a week. I have my guests on Saturdays, and then on Tuesdays, I'm still doing my Curious Girl Diaries. So I'm out there. And this year, I'm all about being a joiner and joining groups. I'm going to be joining some sex groups, sex clubs, maybe get into swinging a little bit more, hopefully become part of a throuple. So there's a lot more, just kind of hot, sexy adventures coming from me personally.
So can you tell the people where they can find your adventures and all these amazing conversations online?
Yes. The easiest place is I won't call out all my socials because, the names are all, they're all different. It's got an underscore here and an underscore there. But easiest way is just go to my website, thecuriousgirldiaries.com. You can scroll down to the bottom and you'll find the links to all my socials there. Of course, my podcast is there, but it's also on, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, basically any major syndicator of podcasts, you can find it. And then also, if you ever want to reach out to me directly, you can go to my website and click on the pink tab on the right-hand side, and you can leave me a voicemail of up to 5 minutes. Let it rip with your questions, comments, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to know. And I will get back to you personally with a voicemail.
Well, Layla, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, not only about your sexual awakening crush, but so much more, like Gilligan and Ginger from an amazing TV show. And everyone,
That's embarrassing.
Totally not, because it could have been the Howls.
That's true. It could have gone worse. Yeah.
And everyone, you can find all of Layla's information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.